guys, how's it going? Today I'm planting 3 brand new clematis in my garden, and I'm really excited because they're all blooming so we can see exactly what their blooms look like. These are the 3 new ones in the Proven Winners line, the Sparky series. So I've got Sparky Pink, Sparky Purple, and Sparky Blue, and I've got Russell here who's inspecting my work. Always inspecting my work. Anyway, I did put together a video earlier on this spring when I was cutting back the pink mint clematis that actually belong on these trellis right here, and I talked about the 3 different pruning classifications of clematis and what you can look for in your clematis if you're not sure what kind yours is, so that you can prune it properly. And the 3 of these belong to group 1, which means they're an early blooming clematis that bloom on old wood, which means you just want to plant them somewhere and let them do their thing. So they're probably like arguably the lowest maintenance clematis in all 3 of those groups. So all 3 of these are a zone 5 through 8. They grow about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, which means you really want to put them somewhere where they can grow to their full size, where you don't have to mess with them because they bloom on old wood. It's kind of like hydrangeas. You don't want to be pruning on them if you can at all help it, because you could potentially cut off new blooms. If you do need to size control or shape up a category 1 blooms on old wood type clematis, you want to do it immediately after their spring bloom. And these actually start blooming earlier than the rest of the clematis. I mean, none of my clematis are in bloom right now, and these have been grown cold. They haven't been grown on in a warm climate. They've been here with me for a little while, and I've had them just out by our greenhouse sitting on the ground. So they are definitely growing on and blooming earlier than the rest. And they bloom about April through June. So if you were to need to prune on these, you want to come in sometime in June, right after they're done blooming, size control them, like shape them up a bit, and then that's it. But preferably you put them somewhere where you just don't even have to touch them. Like, that's the best kind of plant you can put in your garden. And taking a closer look at these blooms, they're just so unique. I mean, there's so many different kinds of clematis out there, so many different kinds of bloom structures, but I love the ones that look like right here you can see, I think, these have kind of a downturned appearance, and they kind of look like little ballerina skirts to me. And then when they open up, they kind of unfurl into this like pinwheel type flower. They're actually really good for cut arrangements too. A lot of clematis are. So that's the Sparky Pink. Here's the Sparky Purple right here. Look at that. Isn't that the most gorgeous color? Let me make sure my camera is focusing on it, because it would be a shame if it was focusing on me and not the flower. There we go. Look at how gorgeous that is. Just the color alone. And then Sparky Blue definitely has the most growth of all 3 of them that I've got. Look at that thing. Isn't that beautiful? So I've got 3 different fence sections where I want to plant these. 2 of these, the lighter colored ones, the pink and the purple, are going to go on our vegetable garden fence, because I was looking at it and there's really not a whole lot of spring interest out there, and I'd really like to add this in if I can get some early spring blooms. And then this one, the Sparky Blue, is going to be going at the end of our west side. So I think we should just head out in the garden and we'll get them in the ground. let's start with the first one I planted, which I think has the prettiest view. I mean, just look at that background with the red bud and the daffodils. Everything's looking so fresh. The hostas are starting to grow up and fill in this area here. And this is where I put the sparky purple. I thought that it would be such a pretty color right in here, and I think it's just the right amount of sun. So it'll get morning sun and it'll get filtered sun for the rest of the day. And you may know the old adage that clematis like to have their feet in the shade and their faces in the sun. So somewhere where their roots can be kept cool and shaded, and somewhere where their leaves, leaf canopy and their blooms can get some sun. Which this space will definitely provide that. So it'll be more shaded down here. When the clematis grows up and starts going along the fence there, it'll get a lot more sun. And to train this one to the fence, it's gonna need a little help until it gets itself up and it can kind of lay over the top of these fence rails. I mean, definitely be easier if I put some kind of like a netting or something, which I could do, but they do need a little bit of help in order to get going. So I thought I could use these ice screws with some wire covered ties. So as the clematis grows, I can just connect it. So, you know, as the stem grows and gets a little bit tougher, I will use the wire tie until we get up till at least the first railing here, probably the second. So you can see I have it around the base of the stem right here. It's just really nice and soft and it's not really tight. All right, let's check out Sparky Pink next. Sparky Pink is right here by the vegetable garden, which I've got a drift of white eryngium that grows up kind of taller, which will shade the clematis back there in the corner. You can see we have not mulched this area yet. We were running some new drip tubing and I think it's working really great. So we'll be mulching here soon. And this area gets morning sun, it's morning now, and then the arborvitaes there, the North Poles, do shade that spot. So I think it will really like it because it'll shade the ground, but the clematis can grow up on the fence and it can get the sun. I do have Colette climbing roses right here, so I think when they kind of like marry together, it's gonna be so pretty. And I'm kind of devoid of spring interest in this area so far. So I think it'll be a really nice added touch of color. But you can see right here, right at the base, this one will be a little bit easier to train because my railing's a lot lower. Gosh, it's pretty. And then Sparky Blue went way on the other end of the west side. So we do have spring interest down here, and you can see we just ran a new grid of drip here as well. Still need to mulch, which will make it look, oh, so nice. So we've got Cornish King daffodils starting to fade out, but back in that corner, I needed something to kind of start crawling on this fence and start hiding the infrastructure, like all the big power boxes. So you can see on the other side of this fence, the previous owners of our house actually ran this fencing, like this metal fencing right here, because before there were homes here, it was all just kind of wild ground and there were tumbleweeds like crazy, and they kept blowing like up against the fence and through the fence and into the property. So this actually caught a lot of those rogue tumbleweeds, and it still does. So I thought, well, that's perfect. I've got a little grid for this clematis to climb on, and I would love to kind of get another piece of it and put it this way so that I can let the vine grow this way and then also grow this way a little bit, thus hiding a little bit of the box right there, but it's nothing pokey or in the way. I think it's a really good solution for this corner right here. Plus, it will get afternoon shade down on the bottom and it will get plenty of sun on the top. And look at that spring snow crabapple right in front of it. Gosh, that's nice. So that's pretty much it for this project. I'm so excited to have these in the ground and be able to show you how they're doing throughout the season. You might have noticed on this last one that there was landscape fabric on the ground, which we typically don't use that in flower beds, but we do have it along the edge of this fence line because before it was being maintained, there was tons of bindweed and things coming in from the other side, and there was no way to control that unless we wanted to spray some pretty harsh stuff. So we decided that we would run one row of landscape fabric on our side of the fence. That way when we planted our arborvitae hedge, we wouldn't have to worry about bindweed getting up inside the arborvitaes. Once that happens, there's really no way you can control it. You can't spray it with anything because you would, you know, hurt the arborvitaes. So anyway, that's why we had some underneath this clematis, and I'm just gonna leave it there just in case we have any left, which I'm sure there is some around here. I know we have a ton of it on the new property. I also watered all three of them in today really well, just to make sure that there's no air pockets around the root balls, that they're all packed in and cool and moist and they have a good start. And then I ran drip to each one of them. I made sure each one of them had either a drip line running by or its own individual emitter. That way they won't skip a beat beat, and that is kind of my biggest issue in the garden. A lot of times I'm planting so many things, if I don't stop and make sure I have sufficient water to that plant, most of the time I'll forget, and then I'll start noticing the plant looking really bad, and then it's hard to recuperate it. So I'm trying to purpose to go a little slower, make sure each plant has the water it needs. That way we have the most success. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.